And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host Dan, aka smAsho, and we're starting things out by looking at a 48-hour SDO video here of the local yellow dwarf, known to some as the Sun or perhaps Sol. A couple active regions in the southeast, one small sunspot when we did show prep. We'll see if it's still there at the end of the episode. Next, we're going to take a look at HelioViewer to see the fields. And when I did show prep, this area right here was indeed a sunspot. We'll see if that gets named Sunspot 2768. Meanwhile, here are the fades. There's 304 angstroms, some filaments down there in the southeast as well, and a little bit of activity looking like it's rising. So those are the areas to keep an eye on. And when I say eye on, well, the pun is intentional. Now, next thing we're looking at the real-time solar wind, and this looks like a second pulse of coronal mass ejection. NOAA and NASA are suggesting that there was a disappearing host, and that there was a coronal hole wind stream happening at the same time as a coronal mass ejection. Could be, could be not. Hard to say. But here's the kind of pulse that I was talking about a couple of days ago, in that that's how a coronal mass ejection strike would look. We did get into geomagnetic unrest conditions for about 12 hours yesterday. We also see a pretty high BT-BZ, or the BT at least. It was all the way up around 10 for a while early yesterday, and now it's back up to 8. That's the total magnetic field strength of the Sun, and the BZ is pretty even here, indicating similar amounts of magnetic power coming out of both solar polar fields. Phi angle currently around 100 degrees. Solar wind density around 6.5 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 372 kilometers a second. There's the KP index now at 2. Here's a geospace magnetosphere movie showing you 4 hours of data of what's going on in the magnetosphere according to the Space Weather Modeling Framework. If you want to read about that, look up geospace magnetosphere movies. Come down here to the bottom. Click on details. Click on the Space Weather Modeling Framework. It'll tell you all about how the models are derived. And you can see this time, once again, we see most of the magnetohydrodynamic pressure in the magnetotail region over here, as opposed to in the bow shock on the sun-facing side of the planet. The sun would be to your left. Next, looking at ground geospace magnetic perturbations. We're showing you the rare polar view here because we see some significant magnetism going on. So we'll show you 4 hours of data on that, as well as the global view, the flattened Earth view, the flat Earth view, yes. So there's that, and here is we do see some pulses coming out of the South Pacific, as well as some sort of magnetic spillover there into the Southern Indian Ocean, as well as perturbations over both North Poles, the Canadian and Siberian ones. Yes, there are two, if you were wondering. And welcome to another Smashlight segment, where we talk about absolutely anything under the sun, or the moon, or perhaps the cosmic ray flux. First, let's talk about cheddar. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to talk about cheddar. Cheddar. Have you learned how to say cheddar? Cheddar. Cheddar. It's therapeutic, just like touching your face used to be. Top of your face only, as opposed to from deep within your bowels. You want to talk within only the top half of your face. Cheddar. Okay? Cheddar. By the way, thanks to our patrons, the real source of funding for the content. Please consider becoming a patron and increasing the probability that these videos will continue to be publicly visible and free. We're also on Subscribe Star, so visit the links below the videos. We're also streaming live to Twitch. If you want to see these videos when they come out live, check out twitch.tv/smAshomash. And Smash Staff, get us those links for those Amazon products. We need to start telling people what to buy and providing links. By the way, we're all over social media, including places like Twitter. If you haven't checked us out there, go follow us over on Twitter. There's exclusive content on all social media platforms to some extent. And please take a moment to press like and subscribe on YouTube. Press the notification bell. You may even actually see when we put up a video. You may not, who knows. Also, check out our playlists, as we have hundreds of videos sorted into playlists for your viewing pleasure. Thanks to our new subscribers over on BitChute as well, now nearing 200 subscribers over there, and we see hundreds more views on BitChute per day than we do on than on YouTube. Now let's take a look at some market data here on CNBC.com. Dow futures fixing to open about 244 points above yesterday's close. S&P set to open 22.75. So all major indices in the U.S. looking to open higher. And let's look at crypto. We'll take a look at We'll take a look at Bitcoin on the Coinbase exchange. And there's the current state of affairs on Bitcoin, looking pretty flatlined over the past couple of months. Also, we'll look at Ethereum on the Coinbase exchange. Now, I use Coinbase, and there is a link below the video if you want to try out crypto investing. Use our Coinbase link, you'll get $10 of free Bitcoin just for signing up. So there's Ethereum, a similar chart to Bitcoin, no surprise there, for the second most popular and significant cryptocurrency. Let's take a look at some other stuff like some commodities. The real portion of the market. And there we see a bunch of bond selling in the longer term bonds. Oil's currently at $40, nearly $41 a barrel. Gold's at $18.17. And there you can see a 5-year high once again reached for gold there, having not seen levels even close to this since 2012. Next, silver. If the website would function, we would be much obliged. And I'm just going to scroll up here and attempt to find out where I just was. What in the heck? Here's the chart for silver, now up to nearly $20 an ounce, 1977. And here's the all data chart for that. By the way, it's been as high as nearly $50 an ounce. Nearly $40 an ounce, rather. And all right, I'm done with this website. It's making me angry. Let's talk about some cosmology stuff. The Solar Orbiter, the ESA's Solar Orbiter, has taken an image closer to the sun than any spacecraft in history. And they're going to do a press release. The joint ESA-NASA mission will be getting great images of the solar polar regions, the highest resolution images ever taken of the solar polar regions. We are very excited about that. And so today at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, July 16th, the briefing will stream live to NASA's website. I assume it'll still be available on demand. It'll be interesting to see what they're going to release. Images of the sun, the closest ever taken, coming out tomorrow morning by ESA. Let's talk about the Orion A cloud. Should it be studied in more depth? Well, I certainly agree that it should be. Here we're looking at density as well as magnetic field, potential field force lines here, possibly giving us some insight into how and why stars are forming there. So some astronomers from Sweden and Germany have made some new measurements of the Orion A cloud, as there are 3,000 young objects in the cloud located at about 1,600 light years away from the Earth and about 300 light years in size. So perhaps have a read. That's on phys.org's Astronomy and Space section. Also, there's another article you may want to read in there about the dim point sources and the galactic center excess. What are we talking about? We're talking about the excess of gamma rays coming from the galactic center. And it's not really explained how those happen. So perhaps have a read on that article as well about the galactic center excess. Let's talk about plagues. Are you freaked out about the bubonic plague? Well, you shouldn't be if you're on top of your health. Now, if you're around mammals who have fleas, then you're more susceptible to the bubonic plague. Cats and dogs can catch it. And the mechanism by which humans get infected is horrifying, and I won't describe it so that nobody vomits while viewing our content. Anyway, a squirrel was discovered in Colorado, and there was some plague reports in from China also, and now people think that there's biological warfare going on, and it's really not all that dangerous to modern humans, folks, because you could take some of the oldest school antibiotics that there are, and it will take out the plague. Really what it comes down to is fleas. You can also get it from ingesting a rodent or a scratch or a bite. So keep your cats indoors unless they're farm cats. And yeah, I wouldn't freak out about the plague. And let's talk about, oh my God, for you can. That is not scary. That's like the common cold. By the way, ups and downs in data may be caused with problems with diagnosis and reporting. Well, who could have guessed? Were you aware that there's a whole bunch of people that have zero symptoms? Were you aware that there's zero evidence of asymptomatic transfer? Were you aware that the media is utterly lying to you because there's a political agenda? Do you remember when Bill Maher stated that he hopes we have a recession or a depression so we can get rid of Trump? Well, guess what? COVID-19 is going to mysteriously vanish in 2021. Why? Because the reason it's so sensationalized is because of politics. End of story. Stop believing the lies. Here's an article about how no connection exists between number of tests and number of cases, according to these researchers. And that is possibly the dumbest idea I've ever heard in science. No connection exists between the number of tests and the number of cases. Dumbest quote from a science article I've read. What say you? Let's talk about confrontations over face masks and the psychology of why some people resist them. Now, USA Today probably doesn't have any idea about the psychology or science of anything. Here's a Karen in a store filming somebody who refuses to wear a mask.
So you're in a store complaining that people aren't wearing masks, correct?
And people are being complete COVIDiots. So in any case, if you're sick and you have to go into public, please wear a mask. And if you're Karening people who aren't sick, there is zero evidence of asymptomatic transfer of COVID-19. Just let that sink in. For months, the CDC did not recommend the public wear face masks, and then reversed its recommendation on April 3rd. Wow, is it possible that the government screwed up and choked twice? Yeah. No, just once. The only time it choked is when it reversed its recommendation and suggested an ineffective thing like wearing masks does anything besides protect sick people from infecting non-sick people. Research suggested face coverings could reduce the spread of droplets and the possibility of pre-symptomatic and asymptomatic transmission. Well, how many caveats can you get into one sentence, folks? Apparently 2. It could reduce the spread and the possibility of pre-symptomatic and asymptomatic transmission. What a crock. What a scam. What a fraud. So anyway, we're making smAsher Price My First Pandemic shirts. And I've ordered the prototype yesterday. So look for that coming soon. We should have it in about 2 weeks. And of course, we'll show you on the Daily Space Weather videos and the Smash Lights sections all about the prototype shirts. So congratulations on surviving a global pandemic so far. By the way, your ancestors have survived much more serious crises, such as, World War II, and, the Black Death, and the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 to 1919. So welcome to smAsher Price My First Pandemic. And don't forget to check out smashomash.org. And here ends today's Smash Lights section. Thanks again for tuning in, folks. Let's continue on to look at some more data. 10.7 centimeter radial flux is at 69 solar flux units. And I would note here, once again, that there are some other stats used to monitor things like the climate. And one of these things is the thermosphere index. So the most distant portion of the atmosphere from where you are, if you're on terrestrial Earth, is the thermosphere. It's sort of the direct input by the sun. And you can see the last solar minimum, as far as thermosphere index, was much deeper than where we currently are. The current solar minimum had some significant spikes here in the thermosphere index, a generally good sign, as a very, very weak sun is bad for the health of mankind, apparently, because entire empires have crumbled at previous solar minima. So, the thermosphere climate index, you can go access this from spaceweather.com. There's a link right on spaceweather.com that will link you to this. Another thing like cosmic rays that indicates the solar minimum between 24 and 25 is not as minimal as the one between 23 and 24. Here's a graph of the 10.7 centimeter radial flux. And if you're wondering where the solar minimum actually happened, it was right here. November of 2019. Let's continue on with some more data. We see a little rise in the X-ray flux here, undoubtedly because of those 2 active regions in the southeast. We'll show you those more in depth later. We haven't seen any significant rise in the proton flux, despite some minor coronal mass ejections. So here's a great indication of what doesn't happen. You don't see a big proton event from a minor coronal mass ejection. Gauss magnetometer is still kind of all over the place, and we are solidly in the North Pole oriented. Current sheet shown here in green on the Gong 2 National Sunspot Observatory top view ecliptic plane field plot. South Pole current sheet here shown in red, and we're going to remain solidly in the North Pole current sheet here for the foreseeable future, especially with those active regions south of the equator. Here's the line of sight field plot, and we don't see any big changes in the B field shown in blue. And if you get up before dawn, you may want to go check out the north-northeast sky, because before sunrise this morning, if you look northeast, you may see Comet Neowise in the constellation Lynx. So it's only about, let's see, it's about 28 degrees off of the ecliptic here. I'm sorry, it's about 40 degrees off the ecliptic here. Maybe 38 degrees off the ecliptic. So if you've got a low horizon before dawn, the next few days, go check out Comet Neowise, now visible with the naked eye. Here's where stuff is in the solar system. It's a big-time planetary pileup here on this side of the sun. It's very lonely on the other side right now. There's where things will be in 1 week. Looks like one day after the new moon. as the Earth swings past the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. And if you get up before dawn, you should also see all kinds of other stuff in the sky, such as Aldebaran and Venus practically overlapping once again. Mercury's just risen where I'm located. You can also see the Moon, and Mars, and Jupiter, and Saturn, so it's a lot of stuff out there. Check out smAshomash.com/forums movie recommendations, part of the free-for-all section. By the way, the whole forum is free-for-all, and you don't need to create a login to view the topics, just to comment. So we watched a movie last night to put a third movie recommendation. So along with Kelly's Heroes and Little Miss Sunshine, which we have yet to watch, The Old Guard, a movie that just came out about 5 days ago, on the 10th, I think it was, starring Charlize Theron as a nearly immortal warrior. The Old Guard. It was a good action flick, about 2 hours long. And if you're wondering what that's all about, well, there's a wiki article about it. There's the movie art. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Some chicks kick ass, it's true. And it is based on a paperback released in August 2017. And it's pretty exciting because it's sort of an original franchise. And we like to see that because I'm a little bit tired of remakes, reboots, reshoots. Thanks for commenting, Kimberly. Hi there. I'd prefer to see original content. So that's pretty original, and I liked it. So anyway, check out smAshomash.com/forum. We've got Cosmology Forum, Earth and Geophysics Forum, General Science, The Sun, a free-for-all and for new users. We're almost at 1,300 users now. Shout out to everybody who set up an account over there at smAshomash.com/forum. We thank you. And the electron flux is off of its incredible lows that we saw for like 2 months. And there you see some of the larger readings that we've seen here, the higher readings we've seen on the GOES electron flux. Those are the highest readings we've seen there in quite a while, actually. Coming off the floor a bit. Not expecting to see this reach warning levels today. Perhaps tomorrow, depending on what happens with the current solar wind situation. Here is the total electron content, and this does go all the way up to the thermosphere. It's fairly normal here, not particularly anomalous, although we have been seeing regular nighttime anomalies over the Caribbean and Central America. Those have largely gone away. That gives you some idea of how your GPS will be working. Here's the ionosphere, and the ionosphere is looking quite discharged on both the sun and nighttime side. Here's the latest image, this one coming in at 8:45 UT, looking pretty normal there. Next, earthquakes, and we see a bunch of deep quakes happening in the past 24 hours. Let's go up the list. First is this 4.1 striking the Japan region. Out in the Pacific Ocean there, it's a 4.1 at 420 kilometers. That's 420. Next, looking at a 5.0 at Vanuatu, it came in at 165 kilometers. Followed by another, this is the largest of the past 24, I think. It's a 5.7 at Indonesia at nearly 600 kilometers. If that happened at the surface, that would be nearly a 7 magnitude quake, folks. Possibly over a 7 magnitude quake at the surface. Again, the depth there, 600 kilometers. And just going up the list. Another very deep quake striking the Fiji region. That one coming in just a few hours ago at 3:51 Universal Time. It's a 5.3 magnitude at 600 kilometers depth. Let's look at volcanoes. Suwa-Nuse-jima back on the list. Flight level 4,000 there, as it's producing a volcanic ash plume. Semeru exploding, flight level 14,000 there. Fuego, volcanic ash not seen in satellite, please don't pole vault the caldera. And Revenador exploding, please do not jump your fingerboard over the 15,000 foot possible volcanic ash plume there. And don't jump your real skateboard over it either. It could become unhealthful. And check it out. It's the Michael E. Mann anticyclone. Checking in on the Michael Mann anticyclone. There it is. You can see it's in the northern hemisphere. It's rotating clockwise. And we've decided to name this anticyclone after Michael Mann, climate fraud hack, who now has to pay Tim Ball's legal bills. Yes, it's true, folks. Let's look at the jet streams. Here are the jets of the Western world. And they are all over the place. Extremely bizarre jet stream behavior, especially right here where the jet stream is moving the absolute wrong direction, nearly due west. Here are the Eastern world's jets. And we're looking at flight level 25,000 here on nullschool.net. And you can see significant portions of the jet stream moving in reverse. Not normal. And again, there's the Michael Mann anticyclone. Are you stoked? By the way, if you're wondering, Michael Mann is the loser who sued Tim Ball for citing Michael Mann's fraud with the hockey stick graph. Michael Mann then filed a frivolous lawsuit and has been forced to pay Tim Ball's legal bills. Then he's lied about it also. We won't even talk about it. Next, let's look at windy.com's pressure maps. We're going to advance this into the GFS forecast. Personally, I like the pressure isobars. What do you think? We're going to pause this at about 12 noon my time. And for you new viewers out there, we're located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. The operation is only 2 of us. Live-in girlfriend known as Christy, a.k.a. smAsho staff. She's our IT department and our social media specialist. Anyway, there's where we expect pressure to be at around 12 noon tomorrow my time. Significant low pressure here off of the east coast of Greenland, just south of the net North Pole. That low is basically where your compass will point, folks. Anyway, let's move on. Look at lightning maps. There's where lightning strikes are happening. And we've got an extreme cell or series of cells here in central U.S. Kansas City, I think you're probably in the crosshairs. And there's thunder rolling in. Shout out to Kansas City. Dag, you are surrounded. And there's some strikes coming in Center City also. If you're in the surrounding area, go outside and look up above this storm. You may see sprites. Take yourself a time-lapse photography of it, and you may find that you've photographed some sprites or red elves or whatever it might happen to be. Next, we'll look at water vapor maps for Europe and Africa. Water vapor maps for the Far East and Oceania. Water vapor maps for the Americas. Please bear with me one moment and allow me to vanish. Next, we'll look at the cloud situation over the U.S. It's going to be making for a cloudy morning in Missouri. Water vapor map for the U.S. And we'll zoom in on that massive atmospheric river, really. Right there on the border between Kansas and Missouri, folks. Great image of those converging systems. And this is going to stagnate a little bit as we've got this dry mass of air down here and a compression caused by this jet stream influence. Here's the U.S. Doppler radar map. And those storms in northern Missouri are looking awfully strong. And again, they're taking their good old time moving to the east. Thanks to the smAsh team for tuning in. Please don't forget to share on your social media, as we're attempting to do all sorts of things, and getting more views would be beneficial to say the least. Again, please consider funding our operation Our main source of funding is from Patreon, patreon.com/smAshomash. Thanks again to our patrons for being assistant and associate producers. Thanks for flying American Smashways. Please keep your head and arms inside the Smash plane at all times while we check and see if the sunspot is still a sunspot. And I still do see some dark spot there. Very, very small sunspot region. It's looking weaker than it did when I did show prep, but there is still a dark umbra there. So that's the place to look throughout the day. Will it be sunspot 2767? We may never know, as the world could end unexpectedly. So don't forget to cash in your grocery store discount cards. Just kidding, folks. The world's not ending. Anyway, there are the fields. And I think, well, it's certainly a cycle 25 sunspot umbra. And let's take one more 48-hour view here of the local yellow dwarf. It's the potential field force lines, which are totally outdated and no longer being updated for some reason. Here's the 131 angstroms view from SDO. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive. Welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Prototype smAsher price. My first pandemic shirt's coming in about 2 weeks. At least the prototype, so we can show you what it looks like. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back.